I used to get paid to fake cry at strangers' funerals. No one asked questions. I showed up, wore black, shed a few tears, collected cash, and left. But one day, I cried a little too well. A grieving mother saw me breaking down in the back row and thought I was her son's best friend. She made me sit with the family, she made me speak, and I lied. Through my teeth. I made up memories about a boy I never met. And I made the whole room cry with me. I thought I was doing my job. Until one of the relatives pulled me aside after the service and said 9 words that made my blood run cold. Funny, Jesse was mute. He never spoke a word. That's when I realized I hadn't just faked a funeral. I walked into something I wasn't supposed to see. Let me explain. So I was unemployed, fresh off a retail job that ghosted me after the holidays, lived in a studio apartment with a leaky ceiling and a landlord who thought heat included meant I could just shiver under 3 blankets. So Craigslist became my best friend. I did everything from helping strangers move furniture to pretending to be someone's boyfriend at a high school reunion. That gig got weird fast. Then one night, around 3 a.m., I saw this listing. Wanted, emotionally available individual, must be able to cry on cue, black attire required, discretion is everything. At first, I thought it was some creepy casting couch code, but nope, I replied, and within 24 hours, I was standing in the back of a church pretending I was someone named Harold's best friend from summer camp. I had never met Harold, never heard of Harold, didn't even look up the obituary, but I wore a black blazer, brought a tissue, and stood there sniffing like I just lost the only man who had ever believed in me. Someone's aunt came up, touched my shoulder, and said, "He talked about you all the time." I nodded like I knew what the heck she meant. She handed me a butterscotch candy. I got paid $300 cash under the table, no questions asked. I walked home eating that butterscotch candy like I just won the lottery. Turns out, there's an entire subculture for people who hire professional mourners. Some of them want to make it look like their loved ones had more friends than they actually did, while some are trying to piss off the new wife. And others, they just want a crowd to make it feel less empty, you know? So I made business cards. I listed myself on obscure sites. My fake name was Deshaun L. Holloway because it sounded poetic and sad. I started developing characters. The silent robber, the heartbroken homie who couldn't stop whispering he didn't deserve this, the emotional numb college roommate who suddenly breaks down during Amazing Grace. I even created a cry playlist on Spotify. 1 month in, I cleared more in funerals than I did in 3 months of retail. No taxes, no follow-ups, just grief cosplay and envelopes full of cash. But it was the job that paid $600 that ruined everything. I got a text from a new client. Small chapel, formal attire, be believable, blend in, no phones, $600. Half up front. So I didn't ask questions. I never did. That was the spoken rule. The more you knew, the harder it was to pretend. The address was in a quiet suburb, about 20 minutes outside the city. I showed up 5 minutes late on purpose, which usually helps sell the illusion, because then everyone thinks you just had to come even though it hurts too much. So I walked into this tiny chapel, soft organ music playing, low whispers around. The moment I stepped in, people turned to look. Eyes lingered, and that should have been my first red flag. I took a seat in the back. It was a small crowd, maybe 20 people, very intimate, family heavy. I pulled out my tissue, let a single tear drop, sniffled, and whispered a soft, "Gone too soon." But something was off. The grief in that room wasn't the usual performative sadness I was used to. It was raw, like someone had ripped the air out of their lungs and left them gasping. Then I saw the mother, front row, wearing a dark purple hat, and she was making this sound, the half moan, half sob, like a wounded animal. And that's when it hit me. I started crying, actually crying. I'm not sure what triggered it, her pain, the room, maybe all the fake grief caught up to me. But suddenly I'm shaking, ugly crying, my shoulders are bouncing, I'm leaking from the nose, so bad that somebody next to me whispers, "How did you know Jesse?" My mouth moved before my brain could catch up. He was like a brother to me. Then I felt it. Eyes. The woman in the purple hat turned around slowly, like a horror movie. She stared right at me, piercing. He didn't have a brother. Dead silence. My mouth went dry. My palms were soaked. People turned. Faces changed. Suspicion bloomed like wildfire. And before I could make up a cover story, the mother stood up and walked towards me. It was like the air shifted. She reached out and touched my face. You're the boy from the voicemail." I froze. "The last person he called before he did it. We never knew who you were." My legs nearly gave out after she said that. She hugged me like I was her own blood. Her family joined in. Everyone began crying harder now. They believed I was some final connection to Jesse's last moments. They thought I mattered, when in reality, I had no damn clue who Jesse was. Then they handed me the mic to speak at the funeral for Jesse. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold the mic. But I did what I do best. I performed. I made up stories, said we met at a music festival, that he let me sleep in his car when I had nowhere else to go, that he said, "Light finds light, and I never forget it." I described his laugh. I talked about how he believed in second chances, and I cried and cried. People were bawling their eyes out, holding each other, and someone even fainted. When I sat down, the mother grabbed my hand like it was keeping her alive. She whispered, "Thank you for loving my son." I said, "Always." After saying that, I wanted to throw up. After the service, everyone hugged me, gave me food, took photos with me. Then just as I was about to slip away, one of the cousins pulled me aside. Real quiet, real calm. "Funny thing," he said, "Jesse was mute since birth," and then walked away. Before this gig, I would predominantly cry at, normal funerals of someone that got old and sick or something light. But after Jesse's funeral, after learning how he passed, I never took another funeral gig again.